A very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to one and all. I feel really honored to be speaking at the ND India Summit 2022. Let me quickly introduce myself. I am Usha Pattabhiraman, a disability professional. I enable sustainable livelihoods for persons with neurodisability. I lead projects at Specialisterne Enable India Solutions, which is a joint venture between two stalwarts in the neurodiversity space, which is Specialisterne Foundation Denmark and Enable India Solutions India. Today I'm going to be talking about neurodiversity awareness and the importance and the impact it has on building a sustainable livelihood for persons with neurodisability. And for ease of communication, I would be referring to persons of neurodiversity as PWND. So before we actually deep dive into the various kinds of awareness and the impact it can create, it is important for us to first understand neurodiversity and the Indian context. Um, we have a lot of special education schools here in the country, and there are early intervention schools. There are some mainstream schools also who are inclusive, and there is some government mandate also in the CBSE schools to have PWND students. But with all of this, there is a lack of access to education and appropriate training and learning needs and learning methodology. So, why this is so? It is one of the factors that affects the access to education is that there is a very late diagnosis. In most cases, we would see that the diagnosis happens when the person is already around 13 or 14 years of age. And this comes because of lack of awareness of the parents, because they are either a denial about the disability or they're really not aware of the disability. So this actually builds a gap in skill and market demand in the country. One other important factor, like we said, is awareness around neurodiversity itself. So if you look at the last 10 years, there has been a great improvement in terms of the level of awareness around neurodiversity, but we are a long way to go because we still need to understand the different disabilities that come under the umbrella of neurodiversity. So keeping all of this in mind, today we'll be talking about the different elements which impact the livelihood of persons with neurodisability. And before I actually go into the different elements, I wanted to share with you the story and the journey of Akash. So Akash is 43 years old. He is currently working for the past 2 years. He's working with a international media company, and he's drawing a salary of 5,500 USD per annum, which actually translates into 4,60,000 INR per annum. And he is a person with intellectual disability. So, what is special about this? Uh, this is a classic case of where awareness helped Akash come to this level. So until Akash was 40 years old, he and his family were not aware of his disability. So Akash's profile came to us as an employee referral, and they wanted us to map him to some role. And when we looked at Akash's resume, it was very interesting because he had worked in many places. But the strange thing was that in every place he was working only for 2 months or 3 months. I think the maximum was around some 5 months in an organization. So then we realized that there is some gap there, and we thought it's good to speak to Akash. We picked up the phone and contacted Akash. And when we were having a conversation with Akash, he did mention that he knows that uh, there is some difference. He's different from the others, and he's not able to mingle with others. He does not know the reason. But he also said that in the places that he worked, people were not communicating with him. They were avoiding him. They were not, there was a lot of bullying also happening, and in some cases where he actually did not understand the work he has to do, there was no help offered to him for him to be able to perform that role. So this is from Akash's perspective. So then when we spoke to his mom, uh, uh, she had a similar story to say. She said that we know that Akash has some disability, but we would like to believe that he does not have a disability, and we have also told him that he does not have a disability because that will build his confidence. So this is a clear case where there has been no awareness around knowing the disability. So what we actually did was we enabled the parent through multiple levels and rounds of counseling. The parent and Akash, we took them through different levels of counseling and multiple rounds of counseling to first uh, get them to uh, go for an assessment for Akash to understand his disability. After they were convinced, they did go for an assessment. and Akash was diagnosed as a person with mild intellectual disability. So, yeah, this was the first step for us, and we were all excited that we now know what to do with Akash. But for the parent, the question was, what is the next step? Thank you, madam, that it was great that you found out the disability for my son. But now I'm even more concerned. What do we do with him next? So, as a next step, what we did is we actually connected Akash with one of our partner NGOs who are who are the subject matter experts, and they have been in this field for close to a decade, working with PWNDs and building their life skills and daily living skills. And at this stage, it was important for us to create awareness to the NGO also. So the question here will be, if an NGO has been working with PWND for a decade, what other kind of awareness can we build? Yes, there is something that we can build. That looking beyond vocational training. So this organization also was an organization who was training the PWD in vocational skills and hoping to find some kind of livelihood. So we approached the NGO. We actually told them the other possibilities, the possibilities of having mainstream jobs, possibilities of having outsourced jobs. All of this were possibilities, and we kind of built that awareness in the NGO, and we needed to work around the training needs of Akash, because we were at this stage we're still not aware of what is the training needs, and the NGO pitched in and did an analysis, did a profiling, did a complete assessment of Akash, and we came out with a training need that is required for Akash, and we put Akash through employability training. That is a recommendation that we had given to the NGO to put Akash through employability training. So this employability training is an Enable India framework where we actually build the attitude of the PWND, build the required disability related skills, build the work related skills, and actually make the PWND job ready. So Akash went through this employability training, and this was the next aha moment for us. Yeah, the employability training is done, but we come back to the same question, right? What are the opportunities available? After vocational training, what are the opportunities available? Similarly, the question is, yes, employability training is done, so what are the opportunities available? And this is where we were able to, this was the time when an international media company approached us for neurodiversity hiring. And this was their pilot program. And we had already conducted the awareness session for the leadership and hiring managers. And we had already analyzed job roles. And this was the time we were profiling and mapping candidates. And we were able to map Akash to one of those roles. And this was the first step for Akash to get into a livelihood opportunity. So this internship opportunity was basically for 3 months. The company had planned for 3 months, but in the 3 months, the company started to see the value that the PWND employees bringing in to the team. They saw direct contribution of PWND team member, and it improved the productivity of the team by close to 20 to 30%, and that's a large amount of progress and in productivity. So once they were convinced about having a PWND in the workforce, they kind of moved the next step. They converted this into a 9 month internship program. So they extended it by another 6 months. And at the end of the 9 months, they were completely convinced of the business case and business value that a PWND talent can bring to the company. And they converted this internship opportunity into a contractual employment. So we had actually fielded 18 PWNDs for this internship program, and 16 of them were converted into contract employees. And Akash was one of them. And for Akash, the first stint was 6 months of contract employment. And at the end of it, after the reviews and retention surveys that we did, the company was convinced that Akash is capable of having a longer stint of employment, and his contract employment, has been extended by another 1.5 years. So this is a classic case of what a single uh, awareness session can do, a single spark can do of awareness, where we started building awareness for the parent, the NGO, the company. And here today, Akash is in a position where he has grown both professionally and personally. He is actually a part of peer groups where he is leading peer groups, and his personality is also improved. So How did we go about all of these things? This is basically because we had a fundamental understanding of elements which actually impact the person with neurodisability. So there are a few elements which directly or indirectly impact the person with neurodisability, and the first one in this is the ecosystem itself, the ecosystem at large, where you have, of course, the parent is anyway there. The person with disability is part of the ecosystem, but he or she is part of the ecosystem. Then you have the enablers, and then we have the companies. All of them form the ecosystem. So understanding the ecosystem around that PWAD is very important to build the right kind of awareness. So the next important fact element is the persons other than the PWAD. So who are these persons? This is the parent, the family. It could be the relatives of the PWND. It could be neighbors of the PWND. It could be the trainer from the NGO who's interacting. Or in cases, it can also be company employees, or volunteers who are engaging and interacting with a person with neurodisability. So what kind of awareness can we give here? For the parents, we conduct parents workshops where we build the aspirations of the parents, and we kind of enable them to see the strengths in their son or daughter and the capabilities of their son or daughter. We have multiple levels of parent workshops that we do, and which actually enables the parent to be able to build their own confidence that their son or daughter can live an independent life, and they kind of support us in building that capability in their son or daughter. When it comes to the NGOs, it is about showing them, building awareness around the different possibilities. Like we take them for exposure visits. We give a lot of exposure visits for PWNDs. We take them to companies where they can actually see what is happening, what a workplace looks like, or they can see hands on what is happening there. And this is a two-pronged thing. When the PWND is getting an awareness, the company employee is also at the same time getting an awareness. They're getting to just see a person with disability and have they may not directly interact with them, but having them around builds some at least an inquisitiveness, you would say, right? And the other kind of engagements that we have with the companies for building awareness is volunteering activities. We encourage companies to send volunteers to work with our partner NGOs and work with the PWD in their NGOs. And what we have seen is a very interesting shift in the volunteers, because when somebody comes in as a volunteer, the thought is that I am contributing to the life of another person. So that is the thought process that we go in with. But when the volunteers complete their volunteering engagement, they came back to tell us that they realized that they are the receivers, because they gained a lot of knowledge and insights, and also understand how to interact or work with PWD, and they were really excited to have continuous engagement. So most of our volunteering engagements are not a one-day visit or a half-day visit to an NGO. Our volunteering engagements run for 3 to 4 months, a long stint, and that is where we're able to build the awareness for the employees in a very subtle manner, and we are already creating a good cushioning and platform around the PWD when he or she goes for the job. The next are the opportunities. This is an important element that affects the livelihood of PWND, and this is completely about the companies. So, what do we do with companies? We conduct awareness sessions for the leadership and decision makers level. Why do we do that? Because once the leadership is convinced about the business case, business value of hiring PWND, once they get that, they are more open to having programs of neurodiversity hiring, and they're able to kind of convince their line managers or hiring managers about the business case. So we do awareness programs for leaders, hiring managers, and we also do awareness programs through peer sensitization sessions with the team members who will be working with the PWND, and we kind of create a platform where the PWND interacts with the other team members. I will come to more details of this little later. But we'll go to the next element. The next element is solutions. So solutions, when we talk solutions, it first starts with the PWND. Uh, Building capability of the PWND to find his or her own solutions has been the key to successful livelihood options. So during the employability training that we are talking about, uh, we enable and we build the capacity of the PWND to create their own self-advocacy booklet. So what is a self-advocacy booklet? This is a booklet which talk where the PWND talks about himself or herself. They talk about who they are, what are their interests, what are their hobbies, what are their strengths, and they also talk about the challenges and the solutions that they have for their own challenges. They also talk about how one can work with them. So this is a complete, almost a Bible, we would say, or a referral document, which becomes very, very important to be shared with the company. And during the peer sensitization sessions, we actually do this. That is, we have the PWND introducing himself or herself to the team. And in a way, this is also an neurodisability awareness for the employee who's going to be working with the PWND. And it is an awareness for the PWND because he or she builds more confidence that they're able to speak about themselves and speak about themselves with dignity. So, what is the next element? The next element is institutionalization, where we are yet to, there's a long way to go in this because this is about government itself, government sectors, government institutions, universities, primary and secondary educational academies and centers. So, building awareness at the government sector levels uh, will actually open up a huge possibility and a lot of livelihood opportunities for PWNT. And uh, we have plans to have awareness sessions conducted at the government sector levels and for universities as well. And we would be really happy to have uh, any ideas that other stakeholders may have to give us on how we can go about this. And we would like to also engage with the primary and secondary education levels where we create awareness in a fun way for the students so they understand uh, they're not shocked or they're not stoned when they see a person with neurodiversity. So this is something that we would like to do. And the final thing element is the tools and content. So just the awareness that we have built around these multiple elements has helped us to also come up with inclusive tools. So tools which are for profiling of the individual, tools for assessment. We have tools for job analysis and self advocacy, for example, is a tool also by itself. And all these tools only strengthen and enable the PWND for a sustainable livelihood. And similarly, there is a lot of content that we have been able to create around learning and development for PWND. And but it also becomes important for us to create awareness. There is a need for awareness here because today we see a lot of e-learning courses and a lot of training organizations who have very interesting training modules. But the question is, are they all accessible for PWND? The answer is no. So we will have to work with training organizations also to help them um, and we can co-create content which is accessible for persons with neurodisability. And I'd like to just stop here and this just uh, let us focus on these elements. And at this point, we would like to definitely reach out to, if you are a company, please reach out to us. We would like to reach out to you, and we will be able to give you options on what are the kind of engagements you can have with persons with neurodisability. And if you are an NGO, will be really happy to work with you and collaborate with you. And if you are a person with neurodisability and you're watching this, please do reach out to us and we'll be more than happy to work with you. And if you're a parent, absolutely yes, we can show some pathway for your son or daughter. So this is all that I had to share about the importance and the impact of awareness. And I thank the organizers of the ND India Summit 2022, and I thank you all for listening into me for so long. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day ahead.